Okay. Just screen. Just give me a minute. Huh? Okay, sorry for the small delay, but thank you for joining in to the eMeteor Architecture School session. Probably the last one we're doing this year and one of the best schools that we're doing with. The objective of this school, of this series, is to build your preferred list of architecture schools and interact with the top management of each school and identify the school that best suits you. Now, today's session, before we start today's session, in case you'll have missed the webinar on the 2022 Architecture CET and COVID-K process, please go on to our YouTube channel and watch that webinar, which I've done. For today, we are starting off, we are probably ending the season with Jindal School of Art and Architecture. Now, JSAA is part of the OP Jindal Global University, which is an institution of eminence awarded by the government of India, right? So the advantage of JSAA is that they organize a customized curriculum matching with the world's top architecture schools. JSAA offers a major in B.Arch, and they also have the options of minors, right? And the minor could be UI UX design or interior design or urban design or legal studies, psychology. So this is a very critical differentiator for Jindal School. JSAA also offers multiple internship opportunities in India and abroad, starting from the second year onwards. The faculty is the other aspect that really stands out. I'm sorry, the faculty is the other aspect that really stands out with sorry, I don't know why this is going on. Yeah, the faculty stands out, and the faculty are from MIT, Cambridge, New York University, Cornell, UCB, UAL, Oxford, and Harvard, right? So it's got one of the best spreads of faculty with that international education and design experience. But today we have Dr. Joydeep Chatterjee, who's a professor and dean at the school. And really the school is his vision that is here. I'm sorry, I need to stop screen share for a minute. Okay, I'm sorry, there's been some issues. I need to stop my screen share for a minute. I'm sorry, there's some kind of issues I'm facing with my laptop. Okay. Give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So Joydeep is an architect, a historian, and an anthropologist, okay, with a doctorate in history of architecture and urbanism. and another one in socio-cultural anthropology from Cornell University. So 2 doctorates. Okay, his academic inquiries traverse questions of design, visual culture, technopolitics, social formation of expertise, popular culture, and nationalism. His research on architects and design as a form of knowledge in post-colonial India has been published with prestigious academic presses worldwide. Joydeep has taught at several universities, including Cornell, the University of Cincinnati, and the University School of Architecture and Planning, Delhi. In addition to his academic pursuits, Joydeep is also actively collaborates with designers, architects, artists, filmmakers to work on many interdisciplinary projects, right? So here is a person who you can actually say is an architect who's worked across fields and who has tremendous experience and exposure at various levels. And it'll be great to hear him, hear about him directly. So fantastic to have you here, Joydeep. Thank you for joining in.
Can you hear me?
Joydeep,
yes.
You're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
You can. Yes, yes.
All right, thank you so much, Dion. Dion, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen because I have a little bit of a presentation, which is kind of going to give you an overall idea about the JSAA. I mean, you said some things, but I'd like to go a little more into the details of this place, right? So if I can just share my screen, just wait with me while I do that. All right, sound. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. I'm just going to go into the slideshow mode. Perfect. All right. So, yeah, thank you for having us, Dion. And, while this may be the last thing, it's certainly not, we always like to end with a bang, not with a whimper, as they say, right? All right, fantastic. Just thought we'll talk a little bit about JSAA. And one of the things that I start off with is, this little thing that we have, which says India's first interdisciplinary school of the built environment. And, that's our little tagline that's there, right, for our school. And every time I get asked this question, what is the built environment? And I said, why are you talking about it as the built environment? What is it supposed to be architecture and all of that, right? So I keep telling them it's a simple definition. Any environment that is built, that is made, right? And if you think about it, really, all environments are built and made. The infrastructure environment is that, trains, dams, whatever. Our factories are. Parks are built and made. Our communities are built and made. Our roads, our markets are built and made. Our villages are built and made, right? In fact, nature too is actually built and made. We manage it. We make rules about it. We map it. We have so many things that go on inside as activities of it. So there's nothing called even nature, which does exist outside of human building activity, right? And so the idea is to really open a school which is going to go beyond the standard confines of a traditional degree in a certain sense. You see, the future is actually in this multidisciplinary kind of an environment that's there. And so we want our students to think just beyond architecture and realize that this built environment has large questions. And the way we prepare our designers, and we have a couple of programs, and I'll talk about that in a bit, is to look at things very, very holistically, right? It's just think beyond, so think of housing, think of resilience, think of waste, think of regulations, think of infrastructure, think about policy, think about questions of accessibility, think about questions of governance. All of this is actually related to the question of the built environment. Right? And that's how, in a certain sense, our majors are kind of configured, right? So, we have the Bachelor's of Architecture, which is a 5-year program, right, which is a council accredited 5-year program. But we also have an interesting program called the BA Built Environment Studies, which is a 4-year architecture program. And and we are very soon going to announce a couple of very interesting things on this program, that you can actually come in here, do 3 years with us. And we have a tie-up with the University of Adelaide. You can do 1 year there and get both the dual bachelors, and then 2 more years in Australia, and then get 3 years of work experience in Australia, right? And you get a MArch in Australia, so you become a licensed practitioner all across the Commonwealth. And then we are doing something similar with the University of Dalhousie, where you go and get 3 years of work experience in Canada, and then you actually get a license to practice again all over the Commonwealth. So that's coming out in December. That's happening. And also with the Nottingham Trent universities, so the 3 universities that we are doing this with. All right. So these are the 2 kind of programs. And then we have something called the Bachelors of Design program, which is an interior environments program. And then there's something called the Bachelor of Design Community and Urban Development program, right? And going ahead, I mean, these are all the programs we have right now. But you mentioned something about minor, and the idea of the minor was to really create designers who can actually work across disciplines and work at the intersections of different systems of knowledge. So right now we have about 16 minors actually. We started off with about 3 or 4 of them. You could do a minor in liberal arts, right? Or you could do a minor in business and management studies and look at the combination of design and management, or you could look at design and finance studies. But then we grew, right? So you could get a minor in legal studies now, a minor in public policy. And for those who are coming into, let's say, design, urban design, interior design, architecture, the question of public policy is very, very important. You cannot do any intervention into the city without understanding its implications for the public, right? And for the implication for policy. Right, then you can do a minor in communication. We have interest students who are doing a kind of a major in architecture or a major in interiors and getting a minor in film studies, or getting a minor in kind of journalism and things like that, right? Then political science, international affairs, environment studies. This is a hugely popular minor. A lot of our students are doing a major in any of our disciplines, but they're actually going ahead and doing a minor in sustainability studies from the School of Environment Studies at Jindal. And then there are minors within the school itself. So, somebody who's an architect is actually getting a minor in interior studies, or somebody who's like a urban community getting a minor in architecture, or an architecture who's getting a minor in urban studies and things like that. Okay. Next 4 years, things are actually growing at a very strong pace at JSAA. We are especially excited about this program that we are opening next year. It's called virtual and immersive environments, right? So the idea is, we would have all realized that the future is a kind of a virtual, augmented, reality-based environments, which have a multiplicity of application, whether ranging from urban application to game application to architectural application to medical application, all kinds of application that is there. So we are, how do people make such kind of environments, right? So that's something we are launching in 2023. Then going ahead with furniture and furnishings in 2024, a fantastic program in Bachelors of Design in Conservation and Heritage in 2025. And then there's something called production design in 2026. Also, then there are a couple of master's projects, which are also masters, which are opening up, right? So sustainability and green building design and construction and project management, landscape, visual and material cultures, right? Some more minors are coming up over the next 4 years. So, by the end of it, Dion, and the rest of the folks who are here, you're looking at more than 120 degree combinations that our students can do. It's just, and students taking courses from over 800 courses. It's a different kind of a school completely. All right. I think, but what's common and what's important for us to understand are some things that I think which cut across all our programs. So let me start with the first thing that you kind of mentioned that in your introduction, Dion. It's this idea of a flexible curriculum. So one of the things that we understand is that students come from very different backgrounds, right? And what we also realize is that the field today requires students not as as one size fits all, right? you know, there are what is required in the world today, in the world outside today, are people who come with multiple skills, and often skills that bridge across things, and curriculums and expertise which you are able to kind of tweak to suit the market out there, right? So one of the things that JSA allows you to do is pretty much build your own curriculum, right? So when they come in, the foundation year is kind of standard, right? It stays there, and the capstone project remains there. But the rest, we just tell them some things, and students just kind of design their own curriculum. They're like, okay, we will do, we want to change this. We want to do something else here. We'll do that, right? So, and students kind of basically design their own curriculum, creating their own this thing. Oh, we are very interested in doing this. Let me do this. Oh, I want to do this first. I want to do that next. All that kind of, it's a highly customizable kind of a program that's there for students at JSAA. Okay, number two. And this is again something that's a kind of a pet thing. All of us who are part of the school, some of us were trained in India, some of us were trained abroad, but all of us, one of the first things that we realized that the problem with design education, hugely in India and even elsewhere in the world, is that a lot of work is really done on paper. And what happens as a result of that is that when people come in and into the field, right, they realize, oh, the skills that we got are already obsolete. Yeah? They don't function because you've not dealt with real life conditions and worked with them, right? So one of the things that we do at JSAA is, again, after the first year, you actually work on live projects for everything, right? So whether it's an interior project, whether it's an urban project, whether it's an architecture project, whether it's a virtual, any kind of project that you're working on, right? You're going to have clients, you're going to have vendors, right? You're going to have consultants, you're going to have a budget. All of this is real stuff that students really, really work on, right? I mean, what you're seeing in front of you is actually the work of the third year students who are working with MMR developers in New Delhi and making a marriage banquet hall. This is the real design that's coming up. This is designed by our third and fourth year students, right? This is not a make-believe thing. This is what MMR developers are doing. Our students in the third and fourth year have worked and produced this, right? Because so all our ateliers are structured like that. The faculty becomes the senior architect on the project. Somebody else becomes, a junior architect, and all the structure is like that, right? Number three, very, very important, right, is this idea of this thing called the minor that we talked about. Now, I just mentioned what it does. Let me show you some examples, okay? So let's say you're a student who's doing a major in B design and community and urban, right? You combine it with journalism and media, and we have students who are doing this. Suddenly, a whole different kind of job opportunities become available to you. You'll wonder, like, a designer can actually work as an international development officer. The designer can actually work as a community media manager, can actually work as a strategic planner. You just need some additional skills. And that's what the minor kind of does for you, right? Let's take another example. Let's say for urban studies, you combine it with government and policy studies. Again, a whole different slew of jobs become available to you, all right? I'm going to give you this interesting example of a student called Astha, who's in her fourth year now, right? Astha came from this little village in Damoh in Maharashtra. She got very interested, B.Arch major. She got very interested in liberal arts, and Astha started taking courses, a lot of courses in the liberal arts college. All of these jobs became available to her, right? And in fact, in her third year, she got an offer as an architectural writer for one of the best blogs in the world. It's called Rethinking the Future. By her fourth year, Astha has written more than 15 articles for them already. And she is well on her way to becoming an architectural writer, right? These are all so many opportunities out there which we have to think outside the box right now, all right? I think number 5, which is very, very critical to what, and again, you mentioned this a bit, is this idea of having a faculty which is themselves trained in the best places, is taught in the best places, and so that you can feel as if you're actually getting a global education, right? We have faculty from all over the world, right? And we have people who are, trained as architects, as interior designers, as urbanists, as engineers, as geographers, anthropologists, conservationists, lawyers, historians, right? You name it. And we have people who are from the top. So, you mentioned some, but you forgot some: Berkeley, UCLA, Syracuse, Cornell, Cincinnati, Harvard, NYU, Oxford, UCL, Harvard, Politecnico de Milan, it's best places, which are there, right? Tokyo, all of these. And, we are incidentally the only school which is the highest proportion of any school of art, design, and architecture in the country of faculty trained abroad, but also faculty with doctorates, right? That's really a kind of a lack in most schools of design and architecture in this country. All right. Number 6, really, really proud of this. Because this idea of working with your hands, working on live projects is so critical, that gets extended at JSAA, right? So we have a huge integration with the industry that goes on. So we have something called the Internship Program. We have something called the Externship Program also, and I'll talk a little bit about these in a second. And then we have something called the Knowledge Sharing Program. So what's the Internship Program? Now, the Internship Program at JSAA is that, unlike other schools, we actually have, apart from the B.Arch program, the mandatory one, or, for every program at JSAA, we also have 12 non-academic credits of internships that you're supposed to do, and therefore do multiple internships during your stay with us, right? Now, what's very interesting is we have created a database of more than 75 different industry partners who give us the first pass at any job, any internship opportunities that happen. I'll give you an example. All right. They're companies which are national and international. All right. And you will notice they are from every aspect of the built environment, right? Why? Because our students are getting this major minor kind of training. So, we have designers who are working with the World Wildlife Fund. We have designers, who are, working with, let's say, something like, the Construction Industry Development Council, or the Global Evolution Energy Design firms, right? With urban lands, with really, things which are not typical places where designers would be working, right? Okay. These are some more examples. In fact, recently, I was just on a call with somebody from Canada, and we've just tied up with the University of Dalhousie. And one of the things that there's something called the Indo-Canadian Exchange Program. And our students there's something called the MyTax internship in Canada. So our students, there are, it's a centralized database of all internships in design, and there are research internships, there are other kinds of internships, and our students are going to become eligible for all of that. So they've got to apply for it, and this is a 12-week internship, which is fully paid. In your flight, your stay, your stipend, everything is paid, and you go for 12 weeks in Canada, right? And this is a yearly thing that's going to happen, right? Okay, I talked about this. So these are just some little, takeaways from what the industry has been saying about our students. But I want to talk a little bit about the Externship Project, right? So it's not as if that only our students go for internship outside. One of the things that we have done with all our partners, 75 plus or even more of them, is that we say, okay, why do we stop this industry connection even when the semester is going on? How can we make this happen too? So one of the things that we do is, many of them, companies, you've got to realize, have projects that they need people to work on, right? And oftentimes those are projects that you cannot, you can't just, get your regular office employees to work on, because they require a different pace at working. So what these companies do is they come and bring this project to our school, right? And students work on it for credit. Here's one example in front of you. This is called Jugaru Palace, right? Jugaru Palace is run by somebody called Aishwarya Tipnis, who's an architect, and by Hina Devi Singh, who's also an architect. But Jugaru Palace is doing some very interesting work. Jugaru Palace has been tying up with, the government of India, with other, the Dutch Council for Arts, and they have been working on a project in which they've been mapping the culinary as well as built environment heritage of Kashmir. Now, our students have been working on this project with them. Jugaru Palace gets this project to our school. They have a lead person who works with our students, and they can take these things for credit. even while the semester is going on. Another example of this is something called the Kala Chaupal group, which is led by Linika. In fact, Linika and I were again talking today. There's something called the Bulandshahr Heritage Week that's coming up. So what our students did, I'm just going to play this little video. This is actually all of this thing about the Upper Gangetic Plain. All of this is actually work done by our students on that project, about the biodiversity issues, the fauna issues, and our students have put all of this together, right? Working with Linika on one of these practicum. And now what's happening is from the 19th of November till the 25th of November, there's this Heritage Week coming up, and then our students are actually going to lead and be participants on that, right? Okay, then there's this other thing, which is called, there was another kind of a concern called, who are running something called the Hamara School in Aligarh. And, our students tied up with them. And this was a fantastic project we're very proud of because, we got an honorable mention, the Solar Decathlon, which we participated for the first time. This was featured by the Hindu recently because this was a one live project in which our students actually created a building which had a zero carbon footprint, right? I'm just going to play a little bit of this video for all of you to see, right?
हमारे पास अगर कोई स्कूल होता तो बहुत अच्छा हो रहता। हम दूर भेजने में अपने बच्चों को बहुत कतराते हैं।
मैम, हम अपने बच्चों को इसलिए स्कूल नहीं भेज पा रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारे पास कोई कमाई का साधन नहीं है और हमारे घर पे अगर हम काम पे जाते हैं तो बच्चों को साथ में लेके जाना पड़ता है।
It has become evident that the problem is in the disconnect between the school, the community, the students and the families. One big cohort eliminating class-based and caste-based boundaries and learn through shared living and communal participation.
Moving them towards vocational so that उनकी families को support मिले, उनको खुद को support मिले और not leaving like जो भी हम वो एक अलग चीज़ चल रही है पेडागोजी का ही वो हिस्सा होगा मतलब बहुत strong values के साथ.
The means to retain the dropout rate by building skills amongst the students and the local community members. And around the locality and assists 5 spokes which are smaller education centers placed deeper into smaller localities and communities. This hub and spoke system becomes scalable, repeatable and replicable. Recent graduates of the school are enrolled in engineering, microbiology, and many of them are teaching at Hamara School itself, and their past success has proven that the right training, sensitivity, and education can change the lives of these children.
आप कैसे करके इसमें अपना हाथ कटा रहे हैं? मैं कारपेंटर हूँ। अच्छा, तो आप हर तरह का काम करते हैं? एक्चुअली पैनल बैग वगैरह और वाली। अच्छा।
Where workshops related to locally known skills like welding, carpentry, and masonry would be conducted for the students and the local community. Our design of the new school, therefore, is inclusive and adaptable to the locally known skill sets like brickwork and jali making. By providing them an opportunity to co-build the school, we fulfill our objective to empower them and their surroundings. Like generating revenue from the building itself, its setback areas, and temporary thatched bamboo kiosks, we provide a space for everyday shops, weekly bazaar within the school, creating employment and a sense of community. We have also provided a multi-purpose hall which will be open for celebrating weddings, facilitating workshops and exhibitions by the locals, and hosting in-school events. We would urge all of you watching to join us in this journey of co-building this institution because Hamara School is Hum Sabka School. Here, we are learning through building and hoping to build and secure a better future for all.
This was something actually, the students worked with everybody there to come up using
the school always has and continues to be.
That's just another video. Maybe we can move on. Right now, the thing about that school was basically they used local techniques. They did everything and created a complete net zero building, and using and the local people built the school, and the students were involved in this, right? The third thing is this idea of this continuing with our knowledge share thing that we do, is this constant inflow of industry mentors and experts for JSA review. And we have more than every year, we have more than 100 such lectures and workshops that are held. These are just some examples of things, from people from all over the world who come in and, they give workshops, they give lectures, and diverse kind of people from all over the world who come in, right? All right. Now, finally, is this idea of the fact that we are living in a world that is hugely connected, right? And Jindal has more than 250 connections, but we now have all of these. I talked about NTU, right? We're doing this kind of an extension program with the University of Adelaide, with the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, with the University of Cincinnati, with the Dalhousie University. I'm going to Cornell, my own alma mater. And, in November, we just started this mega thing at JSAA with JGU at Cornell. And JSAA is obviously a part of that. So I'm going to be in Cornell in November, and we're doing this fantastic short-term study abroad program. We just had a wonderful conversation with Carnegie Mellon, which is, the colleges I'm talking about, these are the top 10 universities, top 15 universities in the world, right? And this is with whom we have tie-ups. We are having short-term study abroad programs, semester exchange with Carnegie Mellon. We are actually working on a research project together. Then we have worked with the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. And we have all of these kind of programs with these places. We have something called the World Cities program. We have the collaborative classroom program where teachers from these universities and we teach together. They have students from there sitting and we sitting together. There's something called the semester abroad program, the short-term study abroad program, the semester exchange program, the joint research programs, and what's called the degree progression or extension programs, right? Lastly, this idea of research, people think that research is not important as a design. That's the biggest fallacy. Good design is always buttressed by good research. There's no other way for you to do good design. And one of the things that we have done is that all our faculty who are so published, right? And we have grants for our faculty. All of them actually bring their research work to undergrad students here. And this also becomes a part of the practicum that our students work on. They work on these live research projects that are going on. So here's one, which is a kind of a thing between about 4 or 5 universities in India and outside, which is about air quality monitoring. Here's another project in which one of our faculty members is working on through this center called the Center for Social Design, and working with Seeds in India to look at redesigning toilets for pubescent girls in schools across the country. Because, interestingly, the high dropout rate amongst pubescent girls in this India is because of bad toilet design, right? So this is a project that our faculty is working on. So multiple things, right? But there's also something like this that we started. And, this is the first international conference on the built environment, which is the first time undergraduate student and their research is being put on a platform. And we had students from all over the world participating in it. And, it's going to happen now. I mean, the dates have shifted a little. We realized we're going to do it in March because that's a much better time. But this is a yearly affair, which is started, run by the students and faculty of JSAA. Now, of course, there's always a question of resources. We have a fantastic building. We have some, state-of-the-art laboratories. Our fabrication lab has everything that you can imagine, all kinds of power tools, all of that for you to do stuff. We have a green studio, and we've just bought some motion capture suits, which will be coming to us in a month or so. So preparing for the virtual lab completely. We're also part of Jindal, which is like a city in and of itself. This is a 100-acre campus. Fantastic kind of resources, hostels, pools, common rooms. Wonderful library. Our students have access to more than 1.5 million books across the databases and things like that. I'm going to stop here. I've already thrown a lot. You can get to know much more. Just follow us on all of these things, or better yet, come and meet us. Yeah. So let me stop there. Dion, and back to you.
Sure. And if anyone wants to start asking questions, you're most welcome
Always.
to do so. But till questions come in, Joydeep, a few things that struck me.
Sorry, Dion, your voice is cracking.
There's a lot of things I have in mind. Oh yeah, just 1 second. Let me just see if I need to change my network.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Just 1 second. I'm changing my network.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just need to move to another network. Yeah. Okay. Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are.
Right. I've not been able to change it, but as soon as I can change, I will. So a few things struck me, Joydeep, when you were talking. One is the flexible curriculum, and to start off with that. Now we see that you have many options, and like you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of options of majors and minors that you have. Does the Council of Architecture actually allow this, or do they even control it, or what is the rule with the Council of Architecture?
Very simple, Dion. You've got to understand that the Council of Architecture says that about 5 to 7% of the coursework is completely in the hands of the school, right? Okay. So if you take 7% of about 270 credits, right, which is the minimum required credits to be completed in order to get a Bachelor's of Architecture degree in this country, that comes to about 18 to 21 credits, right? That's the space that we use, right? To say, okay, we can actually give them a minor, right? So council, see, the problem is this. This is not to diss any other school, but the problem is this. When I came back to India, Dion, I realized that all other schools were running the same curriculum that they were running when I graduated in 1997. And then nobody had shifted anything. I'm like, seriously, you guys have not changed anything in the last 25, 30 years, right? And there's so much that you can do. In fact, recently now, I'm actually now going on I've now been, this has become a bit of an interesting thing, Dion. Do you know how many schools have now asked me to come and give them a workshop? And these are very prominent schools. I'm not going to take names. Who have said, you guys are doing something a little crazy. How can we do this? Can you tell us how to do this? Right? And then when I go and explain it to them, they're like, oh, we never thought of this. I'm like, it's actually very simple. It's not that complicated, right? And so that's one thing. And the second thing is we are also at a unique advantage, I feel, okay? And I think I cannot not stress that. See, we are part of a larger ecosystem here, right? We are part of an institution of eminence, which has 12 other colleges, right? And being an institution of eminence, part of our agenda is to create coursework that is cutting edge in the world. See, that's the mandate given to us by the Indian government, right? They're saying, so I am really, I mean, this is not to sound very highfalutin or whatever, but I am not competing with any school in India right now, right? We are not doing that. We are not, that's not our, we are saying the mandate is, are you competing with the Cornell, with the UCL? And that's why we are tying up with them. That's why, the idea is, can we create a school like that in India, right? I'll give you another example of this, Dion. Everybody asks me, Joydeep, but your school doesn't figure in NIRF ranking. I'm like, I don't want to be in NIRF ranking. Yeah? We are not competing there. We are not competing as part of the NIRF ranking. We are not competing with all of this. Please watch the space. Well, 2 years down the line, when we are, or 5 years, when we'll emerge as the top school in Asia. That's, I want you to look at only international rankings for us. I don't want you to look at, because we are, the entire philosophy, the program, the structure, the faculty, the curriculum, everything is that can we be, and that's the mandate that's given to us, can we reach the top 200, top 250 schools, universities in the world? Right? That's the aim here in a certain sense. So there is possibility. There's allowed. Council of Architecture is looking at our coursework and saying, oh, fantastic, you guys are doing this. So that they are actually now spreading the word. I think all kinds of things can be done. So that's why now I am getting called to say, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, yes, you can. It's not a problem. So Council of, it's absolutely permissible by them.
Fantastic. So, and to build on that, what happens is you also mentioned that students who graduate from this, from JSAA, what they have options to do other programs where they can practice all across the Commonwealth country. Right?
Oh, yeah. So that is the 4-year architecture program, which is there, right? Which is something called the BA Built Environment Studies. So what it is there's a progression thing that's happening. Okay, so one of our tie-ups is with Adelaide, the other is with NTU, the other is with Dalhousie, okay, University in Canada. What's the idea here? You do 3 years with us. Do the 4th year in either Australia or in UK or in Canada. After the completion of the 4th year, you get 2 bachelor's degree, one from us, one from the Canadian or the Australian or the UK university. And you immediately are taken into their MArch program. You do that MArch, right? And once you've done an MArch there, now here's the, because all those MArchs are professionally accredited in those countries, right? Sorry. Yeah. Are professionally accredited in their country. Now, all these countries, because you are doing up to 3 years in that country, they are going to give all our students a 3-year work permit there also as part of it. You understand how it will work? So basically you're getting a bachelor's, a master's, instead of 7 years, in 6 years, firstly, plus a 3-year work permit. So you are pretty much set, and that work permit will then allow you to practice, anywhere in the Commonwealth, because UK, Canada, Australia are all part of the Commonwealth, and there's something called the Union of International Architecture, through which, and there's something called the Canberra Accord, through which, if you graduate from any of these places, see, India walked out of the Canberra Accord. India used to be a part of the Canberra Accord. In India walked out now. So, but what this is doing, allowing for our students is, once they do this, they are not limited to being only in one country. 14, 15 countries across the world. You can go and work.
Awesome.
It's a very different kind of a situation. Yeah.
Awesome. So Likita was asking whether it's applicable to the B.Arch program. So Likita, it's applicable to the BA Built Environment.
Built Environment, not to the B.Arch, Likita.
Not to the B.Arch.
Yeah. See, this is what I was saying, Likita, that the B.Arch Council of Architecture has walked out of that accord. Right? And that's one of the reasons that we said, okay, how do we do? And please understand this, Litika, right? No, or Likita. Yeah. Let's understand this. Interestingly, if you look at Europe, if you look at the US, if you look at Australia, do you know the B.Arch program has basically become a 3+2, 3+1, or a 4+2 program? Only India is one of the very few places where it's still a 5-year program. Again, see, this is a syllabus which is 50 years old. That's the problem, right? These are telltale signs that it is a 50-year-old program, which all other schools are running. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to start this program and then create a separate kind of a thing, because there are a lot of students who are like, yeah, why should I do 7 years or 7.5 years when all over the world people are just doing it in, you can get a BAMA in 6 years. And then you're getting this fantastic opportunity to get a work permit for 3 more years in another country, right?
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Mhm.
So let's get into the architecture tie-ups
Right.
for the architecture program. So Likita wants a little more clarity on that.
Interestingly, Dion, I don't know what anybody else tells me. This is a very interesting thing that people have been asking me. You know, the interesting thing is Council of Architecture still has not clarified that what is the credit exchange, right? They have not. So technically speaking, right? Please understand, Council of Architecture does not officially have semester exchange as yet, right? So what do we have for those who are in the B.Arch program? Okay, we have something called a short-term study abroad program, right? So what is this? This is like, you know, an intensive course. So I'll give you an example, right? This summer, we have something going, coming summer that is coming, right? There's the Inchbald School of Design in London, okay? There's a 12 to 15 day program where students from us, those who are eligible for it, because there is a GPA requirement on this, right, will go to the Inchbald School and they're going to work on this urban regeneration project with students there. It's an intensive 2 to 3 credit thing. Okay. Then number 2, all B.Arch students are also eligible for what's called the Collaborative Classrooms program. Right. So this is what we are tying up with Carnegie Mellon. Right. I finished, last week. So what is this? Right. This is folks from Carnegie Mellon, folks from JSAA, and by that I mean faculty. We will teach a class together. Students from Carnegie Mellon, students from JSAA will be sitting in the classroom together. Right. This is all virtually possible now. Do you see what I'm saying? And then it's kind of a co-taught kind of a class, right? That's called the collaborative classrooms class. Then you have something called a semester abroad program. That's there for you, right? Where you take a semester abroad and go. That's there, right? So these for the B.Arch program, and you also have the World Cities program that's there, which is like short stints at another, city to go and see it, to go and look at the architectural scene, all of that, right? So these are the kind of things that are there for the B.Arch students on this. Now, Likita, you're asking GPA requirement for which program? You mean when you want to go for the short-term study abroad program, Likita, is that what you want to know? All right. So basically, you've got to maintain a GPA of 6.5. No, 6 out of 8. Does that help you?
Yeah, cool. So couple of things. Yeah, while Nikita confirms on that, there's another question that she had. All right, which is, may I know what makes you stand different as compared to other schools, as I've constantly heard that the market is down for architecture. All right, so that's one. And number 2 is, since your tuition fee is quite high, what is the possibility of getting a job so that we can make up the expenses incurred by us?
Here's the interesting thing. Whoever are asking they're actually the same question. And in a sense, I've answered that, and let me try and answer it again. As I told you, look, I'll be very honest with you. If my student, any student at JSAA says, I'm going to go and work in a traditional architectural firm, I'm like, okay, I've just failed. I've just failed to make you into what we were trying to make you, right? Because you're absolutely right. The market for traditional architects is dead. Why going down? To me, it's dead. And the reason it's dead is because the curriculum that is going out there is 40 years old. Please understand that. But that's why this idea of calling ourselves people who work in the built environment. Please understand, do you know that a company like PricewaterhouseCoopers actually needs designers and people who work in the built environment? You're like, what, really? Yes, they do. I'm a consultant for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Right? Our students are actually going and working and interning in places like that. Right? Why are they doing that? It's because they're getting skill sets which are required in the world today and 20 years into the future. Right? This is what that minor program is doing. This is what all the 4 or 5 things that I highlighted for you whether it's learning from a bunch of people who are themselves trained in very different ways, whether it's becoming somebody who is actually has a global outlook to things, right? Please understand this. This is a completely different, we are changing the game, folks. I've got no dilemma, and I'm not going to step around that anymore, right? We've now have multiple students who come in and who have kind of validated what we are doing in a certain sense, right? I mean, 5 years ago when I first met Dion and we talked, Dion was like, okay, Joydeep, great ideas. 5 years, you've seen how much the expansion has happened, Dion, in the last 4 years, right? It's just, because people are just going, oh, wow, I never knew we could do this, right? We never knew that we could actually go and work. We have students who are combining international affairs with design and now going and working with the diplomats, interning there. Because you believe you, me, design, architecture and all are methods of doing things. You can apply it many, many places. And what we are trying to tell you is, look, that making buildings is the littlest part of the built environment. The bigger part of the built environment is so many things beyond that. It's the question of governance. It's the question of policy. It's the question of maintenance. It's the question of justice. It's the question of spatial, governance. It's the question of safety for women. So many areas. Where are people in this country who are working in all of these areas? There was nobody. Why? Because we had one program, one kind of syllabus, which is going on from 1970s, 60s till today. Right? I studied in it. My children will, if they go to a different school, they will study on it. My wife's father, who's also a pretty well-known architect, her grandfather, who's a very well-known architect, he's the founder of modern architecture in India, Mr. Achyut P. Kanvinde, he studied the same curriculum. So this had to change, and in a sense, almost everything is a distinguishing feature of what we are from any other school. I'm not dissing them. They are welcome to do what they want. But our thing is, like, you come here, all I can say is you will realize it at every step. Oh, this is very different. Oh, this is very different what I'm doing, right? So that, and in a sense, I'm highlighting it for all of you simply because that's the informed choice you have to make, right? As students who are deciding your future, as people, you've got to take the conscious decision at this point of time, right? Of how you want to think about things.
Yeah.
All right.
So fantastic, Joydeep. Yeah, true that when we first met 4 or 5 years ago, it was a very different approach, and it's nice to see things blooming the way it is right now. Things actually happening, what we discussed 4 or 5 years ago, how it's actually falling into place, and nice to see our students since then also, really.
I mean, you've seen
so much of confidence.
There have been students who have come from DQ Lab, Dion, and you've seen what they have turned and how they have transformed into this. Yeah. In this, we've had so many students who have come in from DQ. We've had our best students come in from this thing, and you have yourself commented that okay, these guys have changed, they've transformed completely. Right? They've become something else, right? Can I respond to one question, which sure. It's not a question, it's a comment. So firstly, Khushi, thank you so much for this. But I'm just wondering, unfortunately, only because it is not in Bangalore, but why? What's the problem? Why not send your... Look, please understand one thing. The world has to become the oyster for our students and our children. I'm always reminded of the very famous poet Khalil Gibran, who talked about learning, and he said this, and he says this to parents, and it's something I really hold very close to my heart. He says that our children are like arrows. It is our responsibility to release them, not control where they land. right? And I find that a very poignant thing. And I don't know if that says something, but really, I think we live in a world where more and more we've just got to think that the world is our oyster. Bangalore is right there. Hop and a skip and a jump. Your people are here right now, right? That's something we've got to break, that idea. I can understand. I left my home, Kushi, when I was 21. I stayed on my own. I did everything on 16 years in the US, did all of that, came back. And I can tell you, moving out and doing all of this on my own was the best thing that I could have done. I have to thank my parents for saying, get out of the house and earn your own thing, man. so I have to thank them for that. I must say that. And it helped. It helped.
Yes.
There's another question, Dion. Somebody wants to know, when did the school start?
Yes.
All right. So Spurti, I think, really is asking this.
So Spurti asked one question in the beginning.
Oh, sorry. Did I miss any of Spurti's questions? Azad, can you repeat the question?
On the top, is there any last date or something she's asking?
So let me answer. Let me ask this. So Spurti, we like, one of the other things that we do is we like to begin on a bit of time, right? So the school, we actually opened, our classes started about 2 weeks ago, right? But we have a couple of seats remaining in the bachelor's. I think there are about 3 seats or so remaining, Azad, right? See, that's the other thing. We are very particular about students that we take in, because we are never, we never want, see, all of these things that we are doing, you've got to understand one thing. This is not possible if numbers go very high, right? So none of our student to faculty ratio is 1:8 or 1:9. We are very, very particular, right? So there's a faculty member for every 9 students in this. It's actually better than most Ivy Leagues in the world. I mean, Cornell has a ratio of 1:10. Harvard has a ratio of 1:9.5. We are actually at 9, right? So we're a little better than both my previous schools, than that. So one of the things is we're a little choosy about what happens, right? So we have about 3 seats, Azad, I believe. So about 3 or 4 seats that are there. And the first year, again, because it's a highly curated kind of a first year, students come in, and, we started about 2 weeks ago, but, we have a couple of seats left, which is why when, Dion asked, I said, yeah, I'd love to talk to students at DQ, because we always get such wonderful students from there. So, there is a possibility for you to come in into this right now, but I think that the window is closing fast, because I don't think we are going to really take students beyond what is it, the 25th or the 30th, Azad, is it, right? So one of those dates, right? At this point in time.
Okay, so Spurti, I hope that your question has been answered, right? Any more questions, you can let us know. But yeah, I mean, just going a little back to the question from Kushi Jagdish. It's interesting, Joydeep, because even though some of the parents know that they are not going to join, what I actually did is I told them to come here, attend this, because it's going to be a very insightful session, and even if they do join some of the schools, at least they've got some takeaways from this, and they know what to keep in mind when they join other schools, right?
No, absolutely. I'm glad. I'm just saying that and I thank them for coming. I'm just saying that, increasingly we've got to think of the world as our oyster, Dion. There's no getting around it. We live in a networked and closed world. I mean, in a world which is there today. I mean, 10 years ago, I mean, my niece and my nephew are in the United States. My sister's in the United States. I mean, I talk to them every day today. It's WhatsApp. I was there in the US for so long, and when I was there, it was still, okay, I had to make a call, or I could not see, or one felt the distance. I mean, I'm really seeing my nephew grow up every day, because every day, I'll put him on the, okay, hey, what's happening? And I'm that way involved in their lives. So that kind of distance has really collapsed today in a certain sense. So I'm just saying that, given that, as a parent, I would like to think that, can we just, not think that, okay, I wish it was right next to home. Yeah. Sometimes it's also important that, that the student gets this sense of that I'm going to do this out on my own. And I know for me, at the end of it in my own life, that was a big sense of achievement, right? You get scared as a student, you get this thing, but when you cross that journey and you come out on the other side, you're like, I actually did it on my own. Man, that's a huge sense of achievement. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. And on that note, thank you for, to everyone who's joined in on the session. I hope it was useful to you. If you have not applied to JSAA yet, this is your chance to apply. If you want to talk to Azad is the man who's organized the session. Thank you so much, Azad, for being here. He's the director of admissions for the program at JSAA. Azad and I have been in touch for many years now, and glad to be working with him.
Same here, my dear.
Hey, Azad, if you could put your contact details in the chat box, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Azad, you can also share my email with the Dean JSA email with any parents, in case they have any questions. Sometimes the questions come to people, 2 hours down the session. They're like, oh my God, I should have asked Joydeep this question, kind of thing, right? So please share my email in case they want to get in touch with me too.
Awesome.
Right.
And Joydeep, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Pleasure, dear.
It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you, everybody, for
Bye.
joining.
Bye.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Take care. Good night.